Hey guys, it's your girl Nicole from NotesByNic. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you for stopping by, and if you're returning, thank you for coming back. So we're going to talk about how I got saved today, like my salvation story. What moment was that for me? What was I like before salvation? What have I become after salvation? And just some complexities here and there. So my name is Nicole. When did I get saved? I got saved in 2014. I graduated from high school in 2013. Now, y'all, anybody that knows me when I was in high school will tell you, it's crazy how, people would have different versions of you. But if they tell you that I was a rascal in high school, believe them, guys. Not like I was, dog life or whatever, but I think I would just really consider myself very brittle, very, fighty, controversial, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of always found a way to get myself out of whatever thing I was going through, or I just owned my stuff and owned my journey. So that's how I was in high school prior to getting saved. So my high school was in Nigeria, then I came to the US for college. And you can imagine being in a new environment, just trying to figure out things, just trying to, get a new circle. I remember dealing so much with loneliness that I would go to my directories to go and check for people from my the elementary school, people from my primary school. I would go all the way backwards to those people to go and just find people that wanted to talk. I was dealing with so much loneliness at that time in college when I just started college. So I remember moving into my complex, my residential hall complex, and there was a lady in the elevator, and I'm Catholic, my parents are Catholic, my family is Catholic. So my parents someone was in the elevator, and I asked her, are there any churches around here, because I was still trying to navigate myself. So yeah, I remember asking her if there were any churches or anything around the area that I could tap into, and she told me that there was a church, a campus ministry. It was called Exchange Ministries in VSU at that time. And so I was like, okay, well, let me go check it out. It's not Catholic, but I mean, it's still church. So that whenever my parents call me on Sunday, ask me, did you go to church, I'm not biting my tongue. I actually did go to church. So the next time they had gatherings, I went there, and regular worship, nothing too serious. In fact, for me, I think I was more concerned about finding Nigerians in the church, because I was always really picky. My school wasn't so populated with so many Africans, and so I was just trying to find out people that were like me. So I picked a couple of people, and I was like, okay, well, I can relate. The next day I went to the gym, or some days after I went to the gym. Then guess what? There was this very fine man. God, he was from Jamaica. His name is let me keep his name keep his name out of my mouth before the video goes to places that it's not meant to go. But anyways, he was really fine, packs and all. He was a gym instructor at that time, so of course, can you help me do my push-ups, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. He was really kind as well. So I met him there, and that was just a click. The next time I went to church, guess what, guys? This man was the drummer in the church. How is it that when you're trying to get saved, you're trying to go to church and stuff like that, then you find out that your gym instructor is the drummer at church? How can you even focus? So basically I get to the church, and of course I see my gym instructor there, doing it with his dreads, just drumming, and I'm like, God, what kind of situation is this? But of course my attention is divided between the guy and the church or whatever. Somehow the way God arrested your sister out, God knew that seeing that man there, and just my previous relationship with him as my gym instructor, was something that he could take advantage of or leverage on to get me closer to himself, because of this guy, I would always go to the church and blah blah blah, of course, to go and see your crush. And one very beautiful day, I had such a strong encounter. And just like you guys know, I love to write. So I remember him just hijacking me and getting my attention from the church, and just speaking to me and telling me things. So I remember writing so many notes. I remember Psalms 46. I remember a couple of things that he would just tell me, and I would just write. I had a whole long A4 paper, and I was just writing all the stuff he was telling me. And lo and behold, that was the first time I ever really had like a strong encounter with God. And I think from there, you know, like that night, of course, they called for you know, if you want to give your life to Christ, come forth to the altar thingy bobby. So I went up to the altar, and the rest was history. That was how God arrested me and kind of got my attention. I'm not saying that I stopped like lusting, because that's the word, you know, lusting over a fine man. So I'm not saying that I stopped lusting per se. Of course, it was still a motivation for me to go to church, to go and see some fine man. But what happens when you give your life to Christ is almost like the way God is, the way he serenades, almost like he has a way of calling you into himself. So daily after daily, through worship, through just even people speaking with me about him, through dreams. I remember I used to have loads of dreams. He would really just talk to me and like tell me a lot of stuff that I, you know, wanted to know, whatever. So that was like the beginning in 2014. I remember vividly where I encountered God and I gave my life to the Lord, and just slowly after slowly he had to purify me of the thoughts I had over, you know, that certain guy, because it's not even helpful. Then somehow, funny enough, the guy even left the church. So it was almost crazy how, like, for me, I can only think of it as, you really had a plot twist to this, right? You had to use a man to lure me to come to this church, and now I'm saved, and now the man is no longer there. But anyways, that's how God works. So that's pretty much the point where I knew, okay, you know, this journey is between me and God and everything. And I remember like my friends, because of course, like I told you, I wasn't the first that anybody would have thought, you know, go to college and then find God. So my friends would always message me on Skype and be like, you know, can we Skype about your experience with getting saved? You know, how do you do this? Blase. You know, so it was just like a shy moment, like having to talk about my salvation story to people. But I found also that maybe I was saved for this reason. I wasn't the first person that I would have thought would get saved, but maybe God knew that through me that many others too want to encounter what salvation really looks like. So people had questions from me up front, like, you know, how do you know you're saved, or blah blah blah. And the simple thing is really just accepting Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior. It's shifting. It's not saying, you know, you don't have common sense, because me, if anybody is doubting Thomas, or if anybody is an argumentative person, I'm a political science major, so you can imagine, like, if anybody is like that, analytical, that's me. But it's not saying that you lose your mind or whatever. It's like life. If you're believing in one thing, it's like if they give you two options, you believe in one thing, so it means that you are raising this option over the other options. It's like making a choice, pretty much. So I, for one, had to just realize that my smartness or my intelligence or whatever I thought that I had wasn't the basis of, you know, who I was as a human being. There was something higher. There was somebody or someone somewhere that obviously created me, or obviously thought it was good to mold me how he molded me. And so I had to resubmit whatever I knew or whatever, you know, I felt like. And I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of people have when it comes to, you know, encountering God. They put their technical know-how or the science or whatever of it before. It's just like they're like, God has to use a wind to move me. You know, they go to church, they're okay at church, but they still have so much control. They're like, you know, even if something moves them, they will still argue with you that nothing moved them. So that was one thing that I feel like God had to strip me off in my moment of weakness, because I was lusting over a man. You know, he had to strip me off that, and then he was able to get my attention. So literally, people had that question of, how do I know that I'm saved? And I was like, first of all, let your guard down, yes, still have your mind, but release everything as something superior. Let the encounter immerse you. Like, let's enter the water first before you can judge whether it's hot or cold. Don't just stay and be tapping your leg and be saying, is it hot, is it cold? You know, so basically for me, it was one of those things where I'm releasing myself to actually experience this, and, you know, let your will be done kind of thing. And so that's how, you know, I allow myself to just really experience God. And I just remember him through dreams and writing, and him just, you know, revealing himself to me. And at some point too, when you get saved, at some point, some things that you would do in the past, when you do them in the present, whenever you get saved, there is a strong conviction. There is a spirit. There's something that's telling you, are you sure it's the right answer? Now it's left to you to choose whether or not you want to answer that spirit. It's totally left to you. God doesn't force or choke anybody with things. So that's something that I tell people when they're asking, how do I know if I get saved? Outside of God, man can be destructive. Man can say, I'm waking up and I'm doing this way. Look, Barry, if you want to go and jab anybody, nobody holds you accountable. But as a believer, there are some certain things that hold you accountable, especially even having a community of believers, because whenever you're doing stuff and you have people that can, you know, caution you, you're definitely going to be in better hands that will tell you the truth about some certain things that you're, you know, doing as a believer. So how do you get saved? How do you know that you're saved? When you have that conviction, when first of all, when you've said it, acknowledge that you believe in, you know, Jesus Christ and all he has done for you, dying and raising up from the dead for you. When you say that you believe, acknowledge that. Then also by you having the spiritual convictions that you get as you're growing as a believer. I've talked about the role that a church family played for me. It was major. I would do a separate video on that one, because that part, a lot of people now that have been in the faith because of church families too, they've dropped out. Some other people, because of church families, they've proceeded in the, you know, in the faith. So having a church family is a discussion, a very long discussion for people to have. It's very relative. So I'm going to have a separate video concerning that. But the role that I would say church family plays in you being a believer is more like accountability and just seeing other people living life how you're living life, and just people that can, you know, pray with you and just encourage you. How has the journey been, guys? It is the best decision of my life. Like I told you, my personality type, like I could seem uptight. I want to do everything, you know, how I want it, blah, blah, blah. I have so much control. Like, it's like, I mean, control freak or not, but basically I have so much control that sometimes I can lead myself towards a cliff. And after some time I get overwhelmed and it's just like everything strips. But one thing I've been thankful for is that with Jesus, or having somebody else to lean on that is way more powerful than I am, like even if I diverse, even if I go back to who I am or my personality or whatever, I always have solace to run back to. I always have somebody that I could say, because of the sacrifices you made for me, I can live freely. Because of the sacrifices you made for me, I have joy in my soul, in my heart. Because of the sacrifices that you made for me, I can love. God, guys, I love, like, not even just love like kissing and hugging, but like, anyways, that's another talk for another day. But the point I'm trying to make is that because of somebody else, it's almost like for me, it's a relief knowing that my destiny is no longer in my hands. I know it sounds lazy, but it's almost like no matter what I want to do, if I like, let me drive off a cliff, I always have peace, a welcoming, you know, hug, or, you know, welcoming arms to run back to. And that's what Jesus signifies for me, especially in this season of my life. I can think from South Africa to, you know, to Nigeria, but you know, whenever Jesus comes into the situation, everything pieces down. Peace be still, literally. So fundamental or foundational concepts to always remember as a believer, I would say love, definitely. I would also put down some scriptures in my description box. Love, grace, peace, wisdom. Love, grace, peace, wisdom, the spirit of discernment. Of course, your gifts as a believer, like some people interpret speaking in tongues, some people, you know, are good teachers or pastors, some people are this or that. Like I'll also put a scripture referring that part of the Bible. You should know your roles and your spiritual gifts. Then I would also talk about I've said love, peace, grace. What else? Self-control. Because that will keep you from so much things that you don't even need to be committed in the first place. So self-control definitely is a good concept to remember as a believer. And like I said, I would put everything in the description box so you can have access to some scriptures that are tied with these basic concepts to remember as a believer. I would go in depth about maybe each of the concepts I've brought about in this video, but I just wanted to tell you guys my salvation story and what really, like, why I'm so into like my Christianity and all that kind of stuff. Just the basis of it, so that, you know, because some people may just want to know, how did you get saved, or, you know, why do you think you're saved, you know, why are you even a Christian, stuff like that. Those are deep questions and they're very valid, which I would answer subsequently. But now my favorite scripture right now this week that has been really keeping me is Isaiah 41 from 8 to 10, which says, "But you, Israel, are my servant. You are Jacob, my first choice, descendant of my good friend Abraham." God literally calls Abraham friend. It's so amazing. It says, "I pulled you in from all over the world." He pulled me in from all over the world. He called me from every dark corner of the earth, telling me that I am his servant. I'm serving on his side. He has picked me. He has even dropped me, but I shouldn't panic. for he is with me. There is no need to fear, for he is my God. He will give me strength. He will help me. He will hold me steady and keep a firm grip on me. Guys, that scripture gets me all the time. It's like so much promises coming from God. In tough times, in times when I'm confused, he will pick me. He reassures me that he chose me. So they're just like, there's no way to encounter God and not love God. Like, the way he busts my brain is like having a boyfriend that just always reassures you and tells you, you know, why you're the best and all those stuff like that. Or having a friend who you can lean on at the times of comfort or times when you need peace. So guys, this is my salvation story, and these are reasons or some questions that some friends had for me when I got saved. My salvation story, how I got saved. Questions that you may ask upon, like, how do you know you were saved, you know, what is that, and how has life been after salvation. I've told you about how life is. There are challenges, of course, but just knowing that in those challenges there is another big person or big thing that you can lean on, another bigger concept than yourself that you can lean on, you know, the one that can answer questions that even science or anybody can answer. Science is amazing. God is also God of science. He's the omniscience. Some people will say it's not omniscience, 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 whatever it's called. He's not the God of science. He's the one that brings up technology. We'll talk about that soon in another video, because I know you'd be like, he's not the God of everything. And just being able to lean on him in my tough times or even in my good times and be able to celebrate with him all the good things he has done has been mega to my life. So thank you so much for sticking with this video. Please comment your thoughts on the video and just how did you get saved? How did you get saved? How did you know you were saved? You know, these questions that I answered, tell us your own story in the comment section. Like the video if you like it. Please remember to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, share the video with your friends, and just really engage with the video and with my channel in general. Thank you for stopping by again, and like I said, stay safe in these times. Enjoy yourselves, enjoy your family, and yeah, just be great, you know. And yeah, peace. Thank you, Lord, my worship.